Welcome all to the 5th of September 2022 Council meeting. I open the meeting at 7:05 p.m. I will now pass you on to the CEO who will read out the formalities.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome all. This is an ordinary meeting of Council. My name is Alison Beckwith and I'm the Chief Executive Officer. Tonight's meeting is being held in person and in accordance with the provision of Council's governance rules and the Local Government Act 2020. The meeting is being live streamed via Council's website and Facebook page. The live stream is not interactive. Any comments or private messages that are received during the live stream will not have an impact on this meeting and will not be presented to Council. Council's request to speak process methods continue to allow participation without having to attend tonight's meeting in person. Rules for public participation during the meeting include, please note that any public questions submitted to tonight's Council meeting will be printed in the minutes following the meeting. Council does not accept questions as part of the request to speak process. No statement may be derogatory, defamatory or directed to an individual councillor, member of staff, ratepayer or member of the public. A 2-minute time limit applies to request to speaks. The timer will be used and a warning will sound at the 1.5-minute mark, and officers will sum up in the last 30 seconds if they are indeed reading a statement on behalf of a resident. If any members of the public gallery depart the chamber while the meeting is still in progress, we ask that you please not hold conversations with others just out in the foyer. It does get picked up on the live stream. So we do ask you to make your ways downstairs to the library or via lift so that you can actually continue your conversation. So we thank you in advance for that. I'll introduce the councillors who are in attendance tonight. I'll start with my left. So I have the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Alison Champion, Councillor Peter Dimorellis, Councillor Tom Malikan and Councillor Alida McKern. And to my right, I have the Mayor, Councillor Elizabeth Neely, Councillor Rick Garotti, Councillor Peter Castaldo and Councillor Mark Di Pasquale. This evening we are also joined by Council's executive team. We have Mark Giglio, Director of Corporate Services, Natasha Swan, Director of City Development, Darren Bennett, Director of Assets and City Services, sorry Darren, and Kath Brackett, Director of Community Wellbeing. Also in attendance tonight we have Gina Burden, who is our Manager of Corporate Governance and Communications. We have Kristen and Amy from our governance team, and we also have members from our Jets and IT crew that are actually helping with our live stream tonight. Oh, and we have Jonathan at the back there. Thanks, Jonathan. We thank you for attending tonight and your participation in tonight's meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Our meeting is being held on the traditional land of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, and on behalf of Banyule City Council, I acknowledge them as the traditional custodians, and I'd like to pay my respects to Wurundjeri Woiwurrung elders, past, present and emerging, and to acknowledge other Aboriginal and Torres Strait elders who are joining us today. Council is committed and values diversity within our community. I will now read Banyule's diversity statement that demonstrates our commitment. Our community is made up of diverse cultures, beliefs, abilities, sexualities, ages and genders. We are committed to access, equity, participation and rights for everyone, principles which empower, foster harmony and increase the well-being of an inclusive community. We'll start with apologies for this evening. We have one apology, Councillor Fiona Mitsonikos. Unfortunately, her stepfather has passed away and our condolences are with her. Confirmation of the minutes from the ordinary meeting of Council held on the 15th of August 2022. Can I please have a councillor move and second? Moved, Councillor Di Pasquale, seconded Councillor Garotti. I now put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. As required at any other meeting of Council, councillors must declare a conflict of interest at the start of the meeting and leave the meeting when the item is presented to Council. Councillors will be required to leave the meeting and return when the item has been resolved. At any point throughout the meeting, if any other councillor recognises that they have a general or material interest, they can flag at that point and follow the same procedure. Are there any disclosures of interest this evening, councillors? No. No disclosures. Officers that are present, I now ask whether you have a conflict of interest in any items presented before council? No? We will now move to outcomes from the 2022 Youth Summit report card. Do I read all of that? Okay. So I've just got a bit of information to share. So 4 young people from the Banyule community will now present outcomes from the 2022 Youth Summit report card, which addressed issues important to them, including gender, equality, cultural diversity, consent, racism, education, Somali Australian young people, mental health, LGBTQIA+, and the environment. If the young people will now approach the lectern.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Cullen. I'm a Youth Engagement Officer in the Banyule Youth Services team. Today, I would like to introduce you to 4 exceptional Banyule young people who will be sharing with you their experiences from the Banyule Youth Summit and 2022 report card. Without further ado, I would like to formally welcome 4 presenters: Evie, Leroy, Troy and Ethan. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Evie Hunter and I'm currently a Year 11 student at Catholic Ladies College in Eltham, and I would like to thank you all for having us this evening. I'm excited to be here today and talk about my involvement in the Banyule Youth Summit and report card event. The Banyule Youth Summit has fostered connection and participation opportunities for young people since 2014. The Banyule Youth Summit and report card event is a key part of the Youth Services team's commitment to not only hear from young people, but also to be accountable to young people's feedback and ideas. The Banyule Youth Summit provides young people the opportunity to discuss and debate topics important to them and in which they believe they could improve in their community, the environment and the lives of themselves and their peers. It has been a valuable opportunity for Council to consult with young people and to act on their recommendations. Topics included climate change, gender equality, education, consent, racism, LGBTQIA+, Somali Australian young people, mental health and cultural diversity. Today I'm going to speak about my experience organising a school jumper recycling project that developed off the back of the 2021 Banyule Youth Summit. So prior to the Youth Summit, I'd been toying with the idea of starting up a textile recycling project, but had no idea where to start, who to speak to, or how I could fund the project. In many ways, the Youth Summit came at a perfect time. I've consistently felt strongly about the waste and climate crisis that the world is currently facing. It's a hefty predicament of significant magnitude, but I found myself at a complete loss as to how to get started tackling this problem. I completed a school project last year about the fast fashion industry and read a lot about clothing recycling and its integral role in the future of our waste management. This led me to want to pursue my jumper recycling project. The Youth Summit opened my eyes to the potential applications of my idea, which was really important for me. So what was the Jumpers Project? My goal was to provide a service to local schools where they could recycle their jumpers and stop them going to landfill unnecessarily. With the help of the council, I explored recycler options. I looked into facilities all over Australia and eventually settled on Apparel, which is a textile recycling company based in Melbourne, who were happy to support my project. Next, I started thinking about how I would collect the jumpers and promote the project. Some ideas that the council and I settled on were jumper collection boxes that were distributed to several schools across Banyule and some Banyule community services. We designed a giveaway campaign offering the community prizes for donating their jumpers, a social media campaign which Youth Services pushed out through social media channels. At the end of the school year, I delivered 6 massive boxes of jumpers to Apparel, and the jumpers have now been recycled into socks, dog beds and carpets, which I think is pretty cool. From beginning to end, the project took about 4 months, and I'm super happy with the outcome of having a large number of unwearable textiles recycled rather than headed to landfill, and would not have been able to make this project happen without the help of the council. This has further ignited my passion for sustainability and the environment, and it's an interest that I'd really like to pursue into the future. I hope that other young people with new and innovative ideas are encouraged by my project and see that it is possible to put into motion new ideas that you are passionate about when supported by local government. So thank you very much for your support. I would now like to introduce you to Greensborough Secondary College students who took part in the Man Cave workshops this June with 70 other young men from their school, so please welcome them.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ethan Barry. This is Leroy Rowe and Troy Athanasiou.
When I heard we were going to be part of the Man Cave experience, I just thought it would be like a sit-down pep talk sort of thing, or like discuss the fights at our school or something like that.
What actually happened was that the male students and some of the teachers, we all joined up, and the Man Cave organisers opened themselves up with a discussion. We shared about our feelings, like new ways to open ourselves up to each other and like build like respect and trust between each other.
Throughout the workshop, we were challenged on stereotypes, ideas, and other related items commonly falling under toxic masculinity. We also learnt how to open up about our emotions and how to deal with them. As a cohort, we learnt how to be supportive and there for each other when we needed it.
I felt as if it was a good experience because we got to get personal things off our chest. We learned about the people that we were like our peers, and we also learned to move past the upsetting things in our lives or past traumas that may have happened to you. These are skills that we will continue to use in our everyday lives.
I thought the program was really well, how we all opened up and we just built respect and stuff, and I would recommend this to other schools, and like if the council would like to like build the Man Cave like up more and like expand it across all schools around the area.
I also feel as if this program should be recommended to more schools or be used in more schools, because we get to break down barriers and get to know and get an insight of our peers' lives, get to understand them further and better.
I firmly believe that all schools should take this opportunity to work with the young people within it, to break down the barriers between students and teachers, to build a more united school that is more caring and accepting. Thank you for listening and for the honour of allowing us to come here this evening.
Thank you to Andrew, Ethan, Leroy and Troy. Your presentation really showed the powerful impact that this project had, the program had on the 70 young men from Greensborough College who completed it. We are now very excited to share with you our Youth Summit report card outcomes video. This year it's been very difficult to fit all of the outcomes into a video, so if you'd like to know more about any of the outcomes or have any questions, please chat to the Youth Services team. Please relax and enjoy the report cards highlight video. Thank you, everybody.
Welcome to the 2021 Banyule Youth Summit. Today we're here with over 100 young people who live, work, study and play in the Banyule area, here to discuss issues that they are interested in and passionate about.
These social issues affect young people and the community as a whole. Their passion has been clear from council visits to schools in preparation for today.
Young people will spend today with others who share similar passions to discuss and workshop ideas and solutions which will be proposed to council, making Banyule a better place for everyone.
I'm here to talk about mental health, and I really want to find some solutions to help the young people in the community feel supported.
I'm here to talk about gender equality and making it equal for all genders.
Well, the reason why I chose racism, I think racism is very important. It shouldn't be the matter of the colour of your skin. It should be a matter of the person who you are.
I want to talk to people who have the same kind of passions as me, so we can work together to figure out how to solve the big problems we face in today's world to do with the environment.
I think it's important for the council to run events like this so we can come together as a community and tackle issues like this together.
It is important for us to know what you think will make Banyule a better place to live, work and play for our young people.
I've been super inspired spending time with this group today and hearing some of the awesome ideas about how we can make the Banyule community an even better place to be. And I know you guys will be as blown away as I have been.
To implement a school-based mental health workshop for teachers and students. So this would raise awareness and start a discussion surrounding mental health.
And our vision for mental health is finding unity within our community to build the trust within mental health. You know, actions speak louder than words.
We want to educate children and young people to understand emotions and to know it's okay to not be okay.
To have a way to show teachers and friends what it means to be a young carer, the great parts and the tough parts.
What is a young carer? Can you please explain it?
A young carer is basically just someone who cares for people. It's fundamentally just caring for another person, whether they're older, younger, same age, or a different species.
Increasing the ability for people of all abilities in the community. Our vision is to take more consideration for people with additional needs in building design legislation around equal areas for all people.
Our vision is that more young people will be exposed to and have a greater understanding and respect for different cultures. This will help reduce stigma and misconceptions and break the silence around this topic, to position us to be a more united community moving forward.
Our vision is to create culture-sensitive programs using community spaces, also educating ourselves and having professional speakers from a place of knowledge to tell us how to protect our rights.
Our vision is to see more representation of people who look like us and understand where we're coming from, and for us to get the targeted support that we need, whether it's from council or community.
Our vision is to provide education programs that have been developed by young people for young people. The programs should teach respectful relationships, consent, and gender equality of all genders.
Educate people about racism, because I reckon that's very important. You know what I mean? Because we just don't talk about it, we just walk around eggshells.
When you're in a room full of blackfellas or people that might be in the room who are mob, you can look at them directly and be like, I acknowledge you and I acknowledge your family.
Banyule Youth Services
is proud to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people
as the traditional custodians of the land.
The vision we want to see is that we want to visibly represent and create safe spaces for LGBTQ+ people. Specifically young people, and give them resources so that they can feel comfortable, seen, supported, and understood.
We hope to educate, particularly youth, the communities on environmentally based issues that affect us and our futures. Not to mention raising awareness about the small-scale solutions that we can enact as individuals.
We wanted to make like a little workshop where you guys come in, they've got plants, they've got seeds and stuff like that, and you basically plant your own little plant. You get to take that home and you can plant that back into your garden at home. We want an environmental section on the Banyule Youth website, which gives people information about some of the things they can do that will benefit the environment in their community.
We see the education system as a system that focuses on making us book smart but not street smart, and it doesn't have anything relating to our futures and life skills that we can really apply.
Pretty impressive, yeah. Thank you for that presentation. Thank you to Evie, Leroy, Ethan and Troy. Very brave of you to get up and speak in front of a nice audience here tonight. I think we'll have an opportunity to comment more on that later. Item number 2 for presentation is the MAV Technology Awards for Excellence, the People's Choice Award, Internet of Things, Smart Cities Asset Management Initiatives Project. It's a long one there. This award celebrates the efforts and achievement of a broad range of stakeholders who overcame a variety of technical challenges and delays due to COVID-19. I'll now hand over to Mark Gilio, our Director of Corporate Services, to make the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. That's a hard act to follow as well. But yeah, I'm really pleased and proud as the people leader of the corporate services area, who often don't get rewarded for a lot of the back office work. So this is the MAV Award, which was presented to the team. And it was for MAV Technology People's Choice Award for the Internet of Things Smart Cities Asset Management Initiative Project, so quite a mouthful. Smart Cities Asset Management Initiative Project was also highly commended in 2 categories, the Data and Insights category and Emerging Technologies category. The award celebrates the efforts and achievement of a broad range of stakeholders who overcame a variety of technical challenges and delays due to COVID-19. This includes a large number of internal stakeholders involving youth, community partnerships, transport, planning and IT infrastructure teams. Just to give you a bit of an idea about the size of the project and program, there's over 133 sensors at 7 different types of sensors over 133 locations for things like flood water monitoring, air quality monitoring and also management of assets, expanding into management of assets as well. So really proud moment and to present this to Council. If I don't break it before the end of the night.
Are you moving into another award?
I am.
Procurement Australia?
Thank you.
I'll leave it to you.
Thank you. So this was awarded the Procurement Australia, by Procurement Australia on the 19th of August for the Northern Council Alliance, which is an alliance of councils across the northern region consisting of Banyule, Darebin, Hume, Moreland, Whittlesea, Mitchell and Nillumbik. And the regional procurement policy for the Regional Procurement Policy Project, which delivered an innovative and universally transferable policy that has already been adopted by other councils since its implementation by the network. The unique elements of the policy allows for progressive approaches to collaboration, including broadening the definition of local business, prescribing a common tender threshold of $300,000, setting out common expectations to the public tender threshold, detailing a common set of evaluation criteria to streamline evaluation of collaborative contracts, and prescribing common compliance requirements. So quite a good innovative one for a regional group. I must say, when there's any group or collaborative projects, there's usually one group that tends to do the lion's share of the work, and I could safely say that our procurement team led this particular project across the region, and they can be really proud of what they achieved. It may seem like a small thing around a policy, but it really does allow council to collaborate easier and more effectively, and to provide opportunities to create those cost savings and efficiencies for all councils. Happy to.
Thank you, Director Gillier, and congratulations to your team.
Thank you.
Councillors, I'm seeking a procedural motion to reorder the meeting agenda as published. I'm seeking a motion to arrange the order of business so that the following items, being items 3.4, 3.1, 3.2 and 3.3 are presented in this order, and ordering to resume as usual. Moved Councillor Champion, seconded Councillor Malikan. Can I put the motion to a vote? All those in favour? The motion is carried. Okay, so item 3.4, Banyule Youth Summit recommendations and report card. I understand there's a proposed motion that a councillor would like to move. Councillor Malikan.
I have a slight amendment to the motion. If that could be put on the board, that'd be good, thank you. I move an additional point 3 that we thank the participants for their input and enthusiasm and the council staff for supporting this fantastic process.
Do I have a seconder for the addition? Seconded Councillor Champion. Councillor Malikan.
Yes, incredibly heartening to see young people come here tonight and speak so well. Speak better than most of us publicly, I thought. It was an excellent presentation, but it was also a fantastic session back last year when we had the Youth Summit, and I'm always impressed by the passion and the enthusiasm and the knowledge and the understanding and the willingness to improve the world that comes from many of our young people. And as the oldest councillor here, life's certainly changed, the world's changed. The concept of mental health and climate change didn't exist when I was growing up, and it was nothing to be frightened about. Life was pretty easy, but that's changed. And also what's changed, I think, is young people have responded to that, and we need to hear from young people because it's their future they're talking about. They will be impacted by this. And it's fantastic that the council staff are able to organise an event where we can hear, because we have so much to learn, so much to take on. And some of the issues are similar, like racism was a problem when I was a young person. Gender equality was certainly a problem when I was a young person, but I think we've moved a bit of the way in racism, and I think the Uluru Statement of the Heart will be another step in that. Gender equality, we have moved, but there's still a long way to go. So there's so many issues in the world, and really so thankful that you're willing to give your time to explain to us your views on the world. But the other thing I'd say is I'd love you to continue, not drop off, because we do need to hear from young people, but we need you to be involved. I know you can't vote just yet, but I would encourage you to continue to educate people in authority and in power, but then be willing to take over when the time comes, because that's what we need. We need young people to come up with better ideas, because I always think it's my generation that has actually made the world slightly more dangerous and not a happy place as it should be. So it's up to the next generation to improve, I think. And I think when I look at young people like this, I see that that's happening, and that fills me with hope. So thank you for coming in tonight. Thanks for the staff for their engagement and direction. But yeah, really appreciate this, and I love the Youth Summit and also the Youth Festival's coming up on Sunday. I know I go to that every year. No one talks to me, but that's fine, because they all think, what's this old dude hanging around here for? But you see what interests people and what they're engaged with, and it's a wonderful thing to go to, the Youth Festival, even though no one talks to you. And I remember one time I was silly enough to make a speech and no one listened and no one did anything. And I thought, well, but it is a fantastic process we've gone through here, and thank you very much for coming in tonight.
Thank you, Councillor. Does the seconder wish to speak?
Is that right? Good. Clearly I wasn't the recipient of the Tech Award. Thank you very much, Mayor. I do concur with Councillor, and I will talk to you on Sunday. I will be there. All right. This time last night, I happened to be watching Dead Poets Society, and that was released in 1989, and I saw it in 1989, and I hadn't seen it until last night again. So we're talking 33 years later. For those of you who don't know, Dead Poets Society was set in 1959 in a private boys' school. It's a boarding school. And there are various messages that came through this movie. I won't ruin it for you. I'm just going to give you the messages. Young people do as they're told. Young people are not encouraged to think. They only speak when they're spoken to. They must conform to society. They must live the lives their parents regret not living themselves. And the attitude always was, we give you these opportunities that we never had. There were, throughout the movie, the representation of society is that there are attempts to inflict guilt and subservience on young people. And there is actually a tragic outcome with that attitude of one of the young men. And point number 2 in this recommendation, I want to make a note of this. This point number 2 is the complete opposite of this society that was represented in Dead Poets Society a good 70 years ago. So this is how far we've come in this time. Point number 2, partnership with young people. Ensure that young people have an authentic opportunity to actively express their ideas and opinions. That is not what we were doing 70 years ago. And our society and this attitude now allows for growth, self-expression, innovation. It allows for learning and networking. And more importantly, it allows for thinking, which is power. So we thank you for being who you are for all of us and for the future of Banyule. So thank you for your contribution, because without your contribution, we don't have a youth summit. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Castaldo.
Yeah, look, I'd like to reaffirm exactly what's been said here. You guys, the 4 of you that have come here tonight, are a wonderful representation of what our youth can do and what they can achieve when they're given the opportunity. So amongst you guys here tonight are some people that have dedicated a great proportion of their lives to civic engagement, and I think it's great that you guys have embarked on that journey so young. I know I didn't start until I was much older, but thank you for your participation in these important programs, and I look forward to seeing you guys again in whatever way you'd like to be involved, amplifying the things that are important to youth and taking it forward. And I'll just also reflect this, tonight was the largest presentation from any group I've seen in 6 years. It was significant, and I think it was worthy because we don't hear enough from the youth come to before this chamber. So thank you. You've got a long way ahead of you to catch up to some of these others that I see here tonight that have done tremendous work in this space as well to make our council area and the broader community much richer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor McKern.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the video highlighted tonight that the matters raised are important to our youth, and they're important to all of us. That's why many of us councillors are here. I have a particular interest in environment, as many of you know, and I'm quite excited about the presentation given by Evie, Year 11 student from CLC. I think you're very insightful and you're onto something there, Evie, and certainly encourage you with your sustainability efforts. I mentioned to Evie just before the meeting that a local sustainability group, Sustainability Community Ivanhoe, will be running a textiles recycling workshop here at the library on the 19th of October. So if anyone here in the gallery is interested in attending, I believe that if you look at the Facebook page for Sustainable Community Ivanhoe, there's opportunities to purchase tickets, and also on my Facebook page. But I would like to suggest that perhaps Evie, once I've discussed it with members of the group, might like to give a presentation at that workshop and talk about the 200 school jumpers that have been recycled into dog beds, carpets and other things. So here is an opportunity. This is how it works. You present, networking opportunities arise, and so it builds and snowballs. Congratulations to all of you, and I look forward to the opportunity of working with you individually where I can and helping you with your dreams and visions. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? I might add a few comments. It was great to hear from you about, Evie, as Councillor McKern said, about the recycling program that you've ran. Very, very proud. And the boys as well for Man Cave. And, you know, a different... You've all got different passions as young people, and that's what we're attempting to bring together. And, you know, the fact that these key recommendations are being, you know, are turning into outcomes and coming to council, and then we can share these outcomes, just like, you know, the Supporting Friends workshops that's reached over 300 students across different schools in Banyule, is what it's all about. So I'll leave it there, but well done to everyone tonight. I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Okay, so we're moving back to item 3.1 as the... Now you can go. Item 3.1. That's it.
Good on you, mate.
Bye, Troy. Okay, so Ivanhoe Aquatic Centre Stage 2 redevelopment. There are no speakers on this item, and I understand there is a motion. A motion too, from a councillor. Do I have a councillor to move? Councillor McKern, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's an alternative recommendation to that presented by the officers in the officers' report, and that is that Council defer this item to the next ordinary council meeting scheduled for the 26th of October 2022 to review viability options of the current concept plan.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Garotti. Councillor McKern.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ivanhoe Aquatic Centre is a very important facility for Banyule residents, providing numerous health and wellbeing opportunities, including gym, pool, swimming lessons, childcare and more. The Stage 2 redevelopment will focus on expanding and improving the water areas as opposed to the Stage 1, which was the dry areas, and delivering on Council's commitment to net zero carbon emissions. Council endorsed Option 1 plan for community consultation earlier this year, and a revised plan, Option 2, has arisen from this community engagement. The revised design and associated revised design costs is on the Council agenda this evening for our consideration. While there are no speakers from our public, Madam Mayor, a number of residents have contacted me personally with queries and concerns about Option 2 that they would like to see addressed. Having considered these concerns, I believe there are design elements and questions that require further dialogue and investigation under the banner of due diligence. This is an important project that aims to serve the needs of our community for the next 30 to 50 years, half a century, Madam Mayor. So it is paramount that the officers have the opportunity to address and respond to matters that have arisen. To this end, I believe deferral is appropriate to ensure we provide the best level of service delivery to our residents now and for the next half century. This item will return to Council at the next Council meeting, so I don't see that it presents any serious delay to proceedings. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McKern. Does the seconder wish to speak?
Yeah, the mover got there in the end in terms of the rationale for deferrals. So obviously when the report's tabled and we finally see as councillors what's recommended and the community does, that spurred some conversation. We've discussed that as a group, and with the CEO, the officers will go away and look into that and then come back with a report in 3 weeks' time. Thank you, Mayor.
I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour for the deferral, the motion is carried. Item 3.2, Ivanhoe Aquatic Centre Stage 2, redevelopment contract variation. There is a proposed motion. A councillor would like to move.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. I believe that we were going to combine 3.1 and 3.2 for deferral.
Well, we'll just defer. I move to defer 3.2.
Okay. So we deferred 3.2 in conjunction with 3.1. So I'll move to 3.3, inclusive Banyule. There are... I'll put it to a vote again. All right. Let's put it to a vote. Seconded. Councillor McKern. Okay, we put the motion to it for deferral to a vote. All those in favour? It is carried. Okay, we'll move on now. So, there are 6 speakers tonight on inclusive Banyule. Melissa Murphy will address the council in person. Melissa, please approach the lectern. You have 2 minutes to speak.
It is whereas the people, as per the Constitution, via the Commonwealth, not we, the state, and them who decide who can and cannot be included. Banyule claim to be an inclusive council, yet continue to put great effort into dividing the community and ignoring the residents' contributions. Many ways residents have tried to have their voices heard about inclusion or the lack of it. They attended a community consultation event that in plain sight had a derogatory name for a segment of the community, and staff who didn't understand the word inclusive means. They also attempted to attend other ones were not even followed through by the council. Excuse me. They have attended ordinary meetings on many occasions and voiced concern, only to have this inclusive council call the police on them. In-person meetings with council staff, which were clearly nothing more than lip service, and they've tried to engage via social media Facebook page. They attempt to communicate via text, email, phone, with several councillors not even having the respect to respond to the residents, and one likening concerned residents to pedophiles. This document is expensive and divisive and consists of costing tens of thousands of dollars. The overworkedness of Banyule is getting out of hand, and it shows in their bigotry and hypocrisy. Creating lists of certain people as it is a core implies Banyule thinks pointing out differences is far more important than just referring to everyone as everyone. Creating a list that claims to quote the Equal Opportunity Act, however changing the protected physical features to suit your own woke agenda, is the very definition of intolerance to segments of the community. Creating a document boasting about inclusivity and then deliberately excluding people from the same financial opportunities as others. Pretending to care about the community and showing complete disrespect to those who try to engage with this very document. So no, we the people do not support this divisive document or the continued waste of money to pet projects that have nothing to do with creating a safe, healthy, connected community.
The next speaker, Lee O'Mahony, will address the council in person. Lee, please approach. Thank you. 2 minutes.
The inclusive Banyule document states that under various laws, not mandates, laws, council must ensure that it is fair, equal and inclusive, which is wonderful. It also states that council recognises that every one of us has a right to social justice and inclusion, also wonderful. It states that council acknowledges that diverse attributes and characteristics can increase an individual's vulnerability to discrimination and social exclusion, and that this can affect entire community groups. The truth is that Banyule's actions in recent years have been unfair, unequal, and not in any way inclusive. Banyule's actions have divided the community. They've segregated the community. They've deliberately and unlawfully excluded members of the community from accessing services that they've paid for like never before. Social equity for all, the document says, but there's an asterisk missing. The asterisk that should be there says, unless you have certain physical characteristics that we don't wish to include in our inclusive Banyule community, even though we have no valid reason to do so, other than we're just following orders. Orders which breach the very laws the document says it must comply with. I urge Banyule to either acknowledge that it is not an inclusive council and dispense with this tick-the-box document, or truly be inclusive to all residents, workers and visitors. To be inclusive, it must conduct its own thorough risk assessment, not the one that was done, based on all science, not just whatever governments and media are pushing at the time, and be respectful and inclusive to those who have different physical characteristics that pose no risk to anyone else. Thank you.
I have a question of
officers, please.
Of the officers. Thank you. Councillor Malikan.
The Speaker said that council had done something unlawful. I was just wondering if that's correct or not.
So, question to Director or the CEO? Repeat the question.
The Speaker said council had acted unlawfully. I was wondering whether that was correct or not, because to my knowledge and belief that council has followed health orders as required.
Through you, Mayor, I think the Speaker's referring to our following of the Chief Health Orders and the mandates that were in place, and all our advice is that we've done the right thing to follow those mandates. It's not an unlawful action, but the community feel that that's discriminative in nature.
Our next speaker is David Landis Morse from the LGBTQIA+ Committee on the Banyule City Council. Will address council in person. Thank you, David. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I speak in favour of the motion to support Inclusive Banyule. Over the years, I have been involved with the LGBTQIA+ organisations. I have come to see the positive gains for so many individuals who are now able to be open about themselves and who they are. We often forget that our society has been enriched by the continuing enfranchisement of different groups who have had to fight for recognition: women, non-English speakers, the first inhabitants of this country, migrants and members of the LGBTQIA+ community. All of these communities bring a wealth of talent and experience that widen and enrich Australian society. They also release people to be who they are, and from the fight from acceptance to become valued members of our community. To be accepted means that people have the opportunity to spend time doing that which enriches the wider community, rather than fighting for their rights. This releases a cohort of mentally healthy and motivated people in our region of Banyule who will bring variety, acceptance and diversity initially into their own orbit and then also into the wider neighbourhood. This benefits us all and the people who seek to find a home here with us in this area of Banyule. I commend the Council on this forward-facing process that will give more Banyule residents the opportunity to participate and strengthen our local community. Thank you.
Our next speaker this evening is Anna Durante, who will address the Council in person. You have 2 minutes.
Dear councillors, I've read through the final draft of Inclusive Banyule 2022-26. I note several references in the document to everyone and all, such as basic human rights for everyone. Every one of us has a right to social justice, meeting everyone's basic human right. An exclusive society is defined as a society for all. Everyone means everyone. All means all. And perhaps that is where this document should have left it, by simply declaring to treat everyone the same and promoting a society inclusive to all. But instead it proceeds to suggest inclusion occurs when a diversity of people, and then goes to list those categories, feel valued and respected. But surely an inclusive society is one where everyone and all feel valued and respected. It also references the Equal Opportunity Act that makes discrimination because of personal characteristics, as defined in the Act, as against the law. The Equal Opportunity Act quite specifically states physical features mean a person's height, weight, size or other bodily characteristics. It does not go on to list what those characteristics might be, making it all-encompassing. So I'd like to know why is it this document is trying to suggest that these physical features are limited to height, weight, size, shape, facial features, hair and birthmarks. Why offer a definition that does not match the Act? Why attempt to be less inclusive and not more inclusive? The unwillingness to reference any commitment to our Constitution is also duly noted and highly questionable. It is disappointing that our requests to make this a more inclusive document have been ignored. We simply requested you add the class people with different bodily characteristics as per the Equal Opportunity Act. Instead, you have chosen to try and apply restrictions which are not even defined in the Act. I can't think of why this would be done except to attempt to provide council with an opportunity to be exclusive to anyone with a physical feature not listed. A truly inclusive council wouldn't try to limit those that are protected. It would want to treat everyone the same and ensure everyone is protected from discrimination. As I've stated in previous feedback, the fact the document refers to classes' characteristics that are seen to be discriminated against does not in turn give permission to discriminate against any that are not listed. As long as classes are listed, then the aim should be to include every class, every characteristic, and not just those of your choosing. That in itself is discriminatory and has absolutely no place in an inclusion document.
Our next speaker is Randall Crocker, who will address the council in person. Thank you. You have 2 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. I speak tonight to express my deep dissatisfaction with what Council calls a community consultation process regarding this inclusive Banyule inclusion policy. Council can only be intent on including box ticking, since that would soon seem to be the only legitimate inclusive outcome of this process myself and a number of colleagues have gone through with this council. Despite issues we ratepayers have brought to the consultation table in good faith, there seems to be some mysterious resistance on the part of council to genuinely acknowledge and want to rectify issues about what can only be called active discrimination and what we have called, to comply with the doublespeak, a new and emerging group who have not accepted a government-recommended medical procedure. As a ratepayer and a member of a new and emerging group that has been discriminated against, I expect council to represent me in a non-discriminatory and inclusive manner, yet this is still not represented in this document. In fact, council seem intent on only observing disadvantaged groups identified in a past Royal Commission. Council is similarly intent on not accepting that ratepayers who have elected to not participate in an only provisionally approved medical procedure of unknown safety and well-known ineffectiveness should not be excluded, indeed banned, from assessing services in the past. Now, not wanting to make a point of this, but even the health officer Sutton said about the jab, it's not so good at preventing infection in the first place, which is why we have tens of thousands of cases. And by way of ironic twist, these huge figures include mainly vaccinated. Yet I can still not work for Banyule Council despite measures and mandates being dropped across most industries. And there is no risk assessment to say why not. Inclusion means everybody without exceptions. It means everybody here in this chamber and in the municipality. Banyule Council cannot, and I repeat, cannot claim to act inclusively and without discrimination while everybody is not included in this document. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sarah Hockey, who will address the council in person. Please approach the lectern. You have 2 minutes to speak. Yes, yep, it's okay.
My name is Sarah and wish to show my support for the Inclusive Banyule Plan. I'm here as a person with a disability and have that lived experience, and committee member of the Disability and Inclusion Advisory Group. We have been working in consultation with Council to formulate its direction and priority actions that are not tokenistic. Our expertise within the group is valued. When I moved to this area, I had no connections here. Naturally, you turn to your council for answers in finding what is available to you. It became apparent to me there was a lack of everything for people with disability. I tried to find this information on the council's website and realised your website does not meet accessibility guidelines. You can change this by adding accessible functions on the website for more to benefit from, such as the people with low levels of vision, hard of hearing or cognitive limitations. You can add on the website documents in easy English format that would benefit the visually overstimulated, those with low levels of literacy, or a person with intellectual disability whom have a fundamental right to information. I find using the disability section frustrating. Voting yes to our proposal will ensure the website gets an urgent revamp and is co-designed with those that have the lived experience. There is significant lack of services, programs and employment opportunities for people with disability. The social groups running are run from charity or are run on free will of the community members at a grassroots level because council isn't filling that gap. It is not only our job to do the heavy lifting to be included. When there is nowhere to belong, there is nowhere for us to go. The COVID-19 pandemic is a reality for a lot of people that have a disability, isolated at home. Our taxpayer community members would like to see us be included. They would like to see more ramps and shop fronts for Tina, who gets around on a scooter. They want to see Ben, who has MS, get a rail on the side of a council building when he moves away from his disability car park to walk. Or Gail, the blind elderly, to have footpaths fixed so she knows when the gradient changes on the footpath. The autistic girl Beth, who has sensory needs and needs a friendly venue and events for her to attend, or simply not to have people stare at Amanda with cerebral palsy when passing her on the street, or George, who can only communicate by way of sign language to have his employer better trained to support him. I am asking you to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. Support the paradigm shift that disability does not only belong with the person, but it also belongs the responsibility of this local government. I am asking the councillors here tonight to show leadership by voting yes to our inclusive plan and creating a culture change within council as our first objective. Voting yes to equitable inclusive services and places that will allow greater visibility for disabled people. Voting yes to strengthening the diverse communities and help remove some of the systematic and accessibility barriers, those things you take for granted that we cannot. This will improve the long-term impact on the health and well-being and socio-economic participation and meeting the needs for the 23,200 members living with a disability in our community that you're here representing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you to all the speakers this evening. Councillors, I understand that there is a proposed motion that a councillor would like to move. Councillor De Pasquale.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. If we may bring it up on the screen, I propose to move that Council 1 defers the adoption of the Inclusive Banyule Plan 2022 to 2026, and 2, in recognition of the need to deliver actions associated with the draft plan, and as discussed with Council's advisory and population committees, adopts the Inclusive Banyule 2022-2023 Integrated Action Plan to ensure implementation of priority actions. So move, Mayor.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second to permit the Speaker to address the Council.
Councillor De Pasquale.
Mayor, thank you. Firstly, if I may, before the time starts, just a message. I was speaking to Councillor Mitsonikos today. Tragically, her stepfather passed away yesterday, so she's unable to be here, but she did comment that there's many items this evening that she did want to be part of. So she wanted to for me to acknowledge that for the gallery and those at home too, that she would be here if she could. But she's spending that valuable time with her family because of that loss. Mayor, this amended recommendation comes from due to the fact that many members of our Banyule community have contacted me. Some are in the gallery, but also some aren't able to be here this evening. And I am calling for my councillors to possibly have a bit of a think about forwarding this through. Now, there is a bit of confusion, possibly because we are possibly adopting the Inclusive Banyule Plan 2022 to 2026, but at the same time, we are endorsing or possibly endorsing the 2022 to 2023 Integrated Action Plan. So that means that we've got a framework which runs over 4 years, and then we have a 1-year action plan. So it's a bit confusing. So I just wanted to bring attention to that. Now, the suggestions that I've been in conversation with members of the community is that we should be opposed to a plan that starts by addressing inequities and then pigeonholes these people to be treated how council decide these people are treated. We should be opposed to a plan that recognises intersectionality and then decides whether an identity is right or wrong. I'm actually in favour of an inclusive Banyule plan built on a premise that if you are living, breathing, if you're a human being, because of that you're included here. This is what residents I have spoken to want. 4 years ago I was part of this very council that endorsed the Inclusion, Access and Equity Framework 2017 to 2021. Back then I was unaware of how unsuccessful this would be. During recent community consultation regarding this framework that is coming up to us tonight, the results across the 5 domains consulted are almost 50% of residents disagree or strongly disagree that in Banyule everyone can access places, spaces, services and programs that meet their needs. 57% of our residents stated they disagree or strongly disagree that in Banyule everyone has equal opportunity. And a third of our residents, when asked to comment, disagreed that people in Banyule live in harmony without the risk of discrimination or violence. These results are shocking to say the least for a councillor who 4 years ago, acting in good faith, authorised officers to go to work and deliver inclusivity, access and equity. Now I'm faced with this document tonight, which is a draft, Inclusive Banyule 2022-26, and I see no evidence in it that the mistakes of the past will be rectified. The second page, Council's commitment, access, everyone can access places, spaces, services and... Sorry, Mayor, may I just have a little bit of extra time? Just
Yep, continue, Councillor.
Thank you, won't be long. Access, everyone can access places, spaces, services and programs that meet their needs. While this is simply untrue and an insult to people who cannot access council places, spaces, services and programs. What's the problem here? It's simple. Council doesn't listen. It appears it doesn't care about disagreement from the community. Council writes the rules, and here's an example. Under Objective 2, delivering equitable and inclusive services, places and spaces, page 14 of the draft, the strategy is stated, provide a range of services and programs and work with relevant partners to enhance health and wellbeing outcomes and social cohesion. This strategy aligns with our municipal public health and wellbeing response. Now, I think it's fair to say that Banyule's municipal public health and wellbeing response has been a monumental failure over the last 2.5 years, and aligning it with a framework or a plan that is a rehash of the previous plan, which failed, is a waste of valuable time and resources. So, Mayor, for these reasons, this is why I'm bringing up this deferral of the 2022-2026 Inclusive Banyule Plan, for officers to go away, work on a little bit more, possibly confer with residents a bit more, refine it, but definitely not halting the 2022-2023 Integrated Action Plan to get things moving forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Does the seconder wish to speak?
Yeah, just, acknowledge the speakers, Councillor, and also just acknowledge Councillor Mark Di Pasquale and his advocacy for the community. So thank you for that, Mark. We'll point out that if this motion is voted against, then we will return to the substantive motion with some amendments regarding the action plan and expanding the action plan. And so on that basis, I think it's important to have a say and for the community to hear from their elected representatives, and that's why I was more than happy to second the deferral, but I will be voting against that.
Does any other councillor wish to speak? I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion has failed. Stand as a proposed motion on 3.3. Do I have a councillor move?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to move an amended motion, but I'm looking for it to appear on the screen, if I may.
Thank you, councillor. Can take us through the amendment.
I'm going to... So that Council, having considered the community feedback on the draft Inclusive Banyule Plan 2022-26, adopts the final Inclusive Plan 2022-26 and the Inclusive Banyule 2022-23 Integrated Action Plan at Attachment 1 to the report with the following additional actions. I won't read every cell, but I will probably just read out the additional actions. That 1, Council establish a dedicated Banyule website or landing page that is specifically tailored to providing advice, information and support to people with disabilities and their carers. A second action 2, that Council actively engage advisory committees in community consultation for major developments over $5 million in value. If we can scroll on for the third additional action, provide opportunities for advisory committees to inform and, if appropriate, review key changes and upgrades to Council's website. An additional action 4, develop a community database to better inform the community of opportunities to participate or receive services. This will include options such as disability-friendly programs. The database will be available on the dedicated Banyule Disability website. And if we can scroll on, I think that may... So they're the additional actions. Then second point 2, authorises officers to meet with Brotherhood of St Lawrence as the funded agency to advocate to ensure that up-to-date information regarding advice, information and support to people with disabilities and their carers is available. 3, notes that Council is mapping non-NDIS support groups and networks in the community and will provide links to this on the Council website. And point number 4, can we scroll down? This is different to what we discussed in the briefing. Oh no, thank you. Sorry, I'm getting passionate and that might be my role on the committee, as Sarah would know. Sorry, so did I read out point number 4? Yep. Receives a report to be presented at a future meeting of Council on or before December 2022 to consider the remuneration options of advisory and population committee members. Point number 5, approves an additional allocation of up to $200,000 in 2022-23 operating budget to establish a dedicated Banyule website or landing page that is specifically tailored to providing advice, information and support to people with disabilities and their carers. And then point number 6, receives a Year 1 outcomes report on the delivery of actions of the Inclusive Banyule 2022-23 Integrated Action Plan in the first quarter of 2023-24 financial year. So moved.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded. Councillor Champion. Councillor Garotti.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So thank you to the group for the opportunity to present that updated recommendation. I'd just like to really acknowledge all speakers that come here and attend and participate in Council, but in particular I really just want to thank Sarah from our Disability Advisory Inclusion Committee. It's a big thing to rock up here and to address the Council and to be an advocate for your community, not only yourself as a disability, but family with disabilities and the community with disabilities. And Sarah is a representation of the really strong community advocates that we are blessed to have on our Disability Advisory Inclusion Committee. And the key thing that emerged out of that committee is, yes, the Banyule Inclusive Plan is good, but it's not going far enough to do meaningful, tangible, real things for people with disabilities now. There's a lot of talk, there's a lot of advocacy, there's a lot of discussion and workshops. What this amended recommendation does is just puts in some really tangible, specific actions. We are going to have a directory, a website for people with disabilities in this community to access. for a member of a committee member, Parvinder, who's often said that she doesn't know where to go to find out clubs and community groups that support people for disability. For the people on the disability committee that said they didn't even know we have an inclusive jobs program here with people with disabilities can apply to. For all these, for the feedback that we've received from the community about not knowing which businesses and service providers in the community are there to tailor their service for people for disability. For all these challenges, we're going to take action as a council to address them. We're not the funded agency to do it, but I think we're all sick and tired of times of the constant talk, of the constant advocacy, discussions. We want to take action. We want to make it happen. We want to take a leadership role here. We want to do that with our Disability Advisory Committee. We're going to start paying our committee members as well. Because when I rock up to the committee to chair it, I'm paid as a councillor. When the officers rock up, they're paid. When the partner agencies rock up, they're paid. But the community members who rock up, their time, their value, many of them on our committee dealing with disabilities themselves or looking after those who do, they're not paid. That's not fair. That's not respectful to them. We're going to start paying them. We're going to start valuing them. We're going to start doing some real tangible things now to improve and building on success in terms of our inclusive employment program, but really lifting the next step, lifting the bar in terms of what we're doing in partnership with the committee around doing things for people with disability. So I really commend this amended recommendation to the group and really hoping for support from fellow colleagues.
Does the seconder wish to speak?
Thanks for the opportunity, Mayor, but in light of what's been said already, I think Councillor Rick has said what I'm thinking too.
Just before I move to any more councillors, I'd just like to remind the gallery it's against our governance rules to record or photograph the council meeting. Thank you. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Castaldo.
Yeah, look, I'd first like to thank all those that did contribute tonight and spoke before us. I know David, who's from the LGBTIQA+ committee that I chair. Thank you for your contribution, and I don't want to diminish the contribution from our disability committee as well, and the other group as well that came to speak on behalf of people that want to have their say, and you did have your say tonight, so thank you. Our officers have worked really hard to try and deliver the most informed action plan and strategy to take us forward and increasingly include more people in this. But there's something I learnt when I first came to council, and it was a bit of a baptism of fire. You can't make everyone happy. We as councillors here have to make hard decisions sometimes, and that doesn't mean we can listen to everyone. And tonight, I'm fully supportive of the recommendations coming forward from our officers that have gone to great length to support as many people as possible, where possible, and take the best informed information from authorities that we trust and a diverse group of stakeholders that also contributed to informing us on this. So I'm fully supportive of this. I just wanted to note some of those things. We can't enable everyone to have everything they want on this council, and I fully support this plan moving forward and the actions and amendment that Councillor Garotti spoke to so passionately. Thank you.
Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor McKern.
Through you, Mayor, I seek clarification from Councillor Garotti regarding payment of the committee members. I don't know that we actually discussed that as an alternative.
We're getting a report on that, Councillor McKern. But I think I'm passionate.
It's not a recommendation.
It's not a recommendation, but we're going to get a report on remunerating committee members, all our committee members.
Thank you for that clarification. That's what I was seeking.
Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor De Pasquale?
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's disappointing that we're dealing with two things in the same agenda item. I believe these should have been separated, so we should have been looking to endorse and debate the draft Inclusive Annual Plan 2022-26, and then in a separate item we should have been looking to endorse the Year 1 Action Plan coming out of that framework. So the reason why I say that is because it leads to an interesting situation where I fully endorse the inclusion to the action plan with regards to our disability or recommendations from our disability community, etc., and the shortcomings there. But I still think that the Inclusive Annual 2022-2026 framework is it's not complete. So I have a hard time endorsing that to go ahead for the next 4 years, because in the next 4 years the next council will be sitting here saying, well, where are we falling short with regards to inclusivity? As we see tonight, where the disability community has been asking for over a year, I believe, councillor, and no action. And then we use tonight as a way to push this through very forcefully, rather than have all these opportunities come to us as a councillor group in representation to our community, and then moving them forward on their behalf. So this is an interesting one, Mayor. This is not something I can endorse, and I will endorse the inclusion for the disability community or committee and what our council and what our community needs to do on that behalf, but I won't be endorsing the 2022-26 plan and framework. And just finally, Mayor, sometimes I think as councillors we need to be reminded why we're here. I mean, I'm here to be working on behalf of my community and the members who voted me here. I'm not here to work for the officers, being Banyule Council officers, and I'm surely not here working for the state government nor the health department. Thank you, Mayor.
Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Melican.
Thank you. I will just say a few things. I'd actually like to thank David, because he spoke beautifully. It really quite moving the way he speaks, and I know he's worked through the Sycamore Tree, which is going to reopen shortly. I've been to many events there, and quite inspiring to see how they work and how they welcome everybody and how they just build community through simple processes. So it's a fantastic. And I've been to the Alphabet Soup functions there, and it's wonderful to see people this sort of inclusive stuff in action, and that's what happens there. So thank you, David. To Sarah, you spoke well as well, and I'm glad that council is listening it finally. But as Sharon always says, and Sharon's the author of this report, and she's done a fantastic job. But she also says that inclusion is a journey; it's not a destination. And has this council got it right? Well, no, but we are trying to improve, and I think this will go a long way. And as was pointed out before, not everyone in Banyule feels included. That's why we need a plan, and I think this plan will assist that, but it won't solve that. So it's small steps at a time. It's fantastic that we have people that have come along tonight. The young people are here earlier, and their views on this will be different again. But one thing I've learnt from my son is how to be inclusive, how to be a lot more tolerant, because when I grew up, that certainly wasn't the case. But I've learned a lot from my son about inclusion and acceptance. And this is this is document perfect? Well, probably not. But will it help? Yes, it will. Will we need another plan after this? Yes, we will. Because as Sharon says, it is a long journey, and the world changes, things change, and the plan will have to change to accommodate that. But this is a wonderful step forward. I will support it tonight. I'd encourage my other councillors to support it tonight, because we do need to be inclusive and we do need to change, and I think this plan will help.
Thank you, councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? This document represents our next steps into our maturing approach to inclusion, and we are continually maturing. And I think That word from the document is a really good word to describe things. Doing it with community input, doing it with data collection, doing it with further research. It allows for targeted action, and we list our diverse cultures, beliefs, abilities, bodies, ages, sexualities and genders for a reason. We do that so we can target these areas for improvement. And it's as simple as that. We want to improve the livability of our area, and we want to take pride in what we do as residents, as Australians, you know, and towards our First Nations peoples. Our approach to apply this intersectional lens, it's a very difficult thing to do, but we're working and we are maturing to reduce these vulnerabilities in our community, to reduce discrimination, to elevate awareness so that we can adapt as a council, as mentioned, to adapt and continue to improve. And I'm all about improvement for council, and this moves us forward to further reducing systemic barriers. It moves us forward to improve safety. It improves economic prosperity for our area by supporting people. And we need to do this to improve society so that we can achieve our full potential as a council. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Item 3.5, review of Council's advisory and population committees. There are no speakers on this item. There is an officer recommendation in the papers. Can a councillor move a motion? Moved. Councillor, was it Melican? Seconded Councillor de Moralos. Councillor Melican, do you wish to speak? Councillor de Moralos, do you wish to speak? Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Champion.
Thanks very much, Mayor. Look, just briefly, the author of this report is the same as the author of the last report. She's been very active, very much head down in these items. So I would just like to thank Sharon very, very much for her contribution and her time and her expertise, and her team as well, in writing both of these reports. They have led to a lot of very intense conversations, and we thank her for all that she has done for us and also for our community and for these reports. So thank you very much, Sharon.
Thank you, councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak?
Sorry, Mayor, I did miss, but the youth summit was in between and I hadn't got to the notes. That's why I was late and I couldn't remember what I wanted to say because I had it written down.
Okay.
I hadn't paged down quickly enough because the youth summit was in between. I'm sorry. So I was very remiss. I did want to speak, if that's all right.
Go ahead, Councillor Melican.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Sharon as well, but I'd just also like to recognise the enormous amount of work that we received from these committees over a long period of time. The Environment Committee, I think, has certainly assisted us with some of the actions we've taken. The Arts and Cultural, we had the pleasure of being at the Arts and Cultural meeting last week, and that was a wonderful experience. To me, not being a creative person of any description, it's wonderful to be engaged with people that have more talent and are more creative, and you learn so much. But the Age Friendly, and I'm the chair of the Age Friendly Committee, and there's some very enthusiastic members on that and who have achieved a lot. So I think these committees have served us well. We do need to look at them. COVID's changed the way that some of these committees function, and I think we need to continually look at how they are performing and whether we've got the frequency of meetings, the timing of meetings and the format of the meetings right, and I don't think we have. I think some of the committees are suffering a bit because of that, but this is one of the pleasures of being on council, to be engaged in these committees, to learn things you aren't aware of, and to have experts in the community who are willing to give up their time to educate council. I think is fantastic. So very, very pleased to see this report tonight and very happy for the way the committees have been functioning, but I think we still need to keep an eye on them to make sure they continue to do so.
Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Castaldo.
Yeah, I should also comment, there's a couple of committees I sit on. Thank you, David, once again for your participation both tonight. It was a stirring speech, and one of those reasons why I think it's so important to have these committees. We haven't had the opportunity to meet in person, given the restrictions. It has made it a lot more difficult. Even so, we have taken on a number of recommendations from committee members, and we do integrate that into our general business regularly. So I started my council interaction through the Environment Advisory Committee. That was part of my journey. That's how I'm a councillor today. Perhaps, David, that's where you might be stepping up next time. So thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? I'll continue on. So with these committees, I think it's important to enhance the opportunity for the municipality, but also for the committee members themselves. And as the report stated, that encouragement for committee members to take on leadership roles. A committee briefing format is also important, and I know that's to be further engaged and to work towards meaningful projects to feed into council practices, being the feedback that I've received. Establishing best practice strategies to support all people to participate in these committees is also what we're about. We want diverse input from the community. So I'm looking forward to learning more about these best practice models. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried.
Wow.
Item 5.1, our well-built city, Lower Heidelberg Road, Ivanhoe, proposed 5-storey retirement village. There are 2 speakers on this item. Daniel DeFazio from Human Habitats will address council in person. So Daniel, is Daniel, yeah? Hi Daniel, please approach the lectern. You have 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm a town planner from Human Habitats. We're here for the applicant Villa Maria Catholic Homes. With a history spanning more than 100 years, Villa Maria Catholic Homes understands well the importance of fit for purpose, high quality buildings to provide the basis for a high standard of care and accommodation for its clients. VMCH developments are planned with asset, operation and occupation from a whole of life standpoint. The site, which is the subject of this application, has a history of seniors living and specialist accommodation. Presently across the site is a decommissioned residential aged care facility and 23 independent living units. These buildings have reached the end of their useful life expectancy and are no longer fit for purpose. As such, VMCH is in the process of relocating many of these residents to other purpose-built facilities. This includes a nearby mission-based 100% affordable housing project at 133 Ford Street, Ivanhoe, which is presently under construction. VMCH are now seeking to utilise this desirable strategic redevelopment site to create a new retirement village which will set a new benchmark for quality in this locale. The village will be a contemporary offering with 56 units. The site is opposite Ivanhoe Park, which provides a lush outlook that is customary in the suburb and part of its desirability. It also benefits from a rich supply of services owing to the proximity of the Ivanhoe Major Activity Centre, the East Ivanhoe Village, and its location within the principal public transport network. We submit the proposal appropriately balance the strategic drivers in favour of a net community benefit for the following key reasons. The proposal will result in 56 high-quality units for Banyule, which will contribute to the provision of housing options for the aged, including those that wish to age in place. Generous and internal and external communal facilities will be provided on site to ensure comfortable accommodation for the residents. A low site coverage proposal of 43% provides generous opportunity for new landscaping in accordance with preferred neighbourhood character and a substantial improvement on the existing site coverage of 60%. Existing worthy vegetation has been retained on site as well as protection of neighbouring vegetation. Off-site impacts have been mitigated through low site coverage and generous side and rear setbacks. A strong livable housing and ESD response has been provided.
Please sum up, Daniel.
Thank you. Okay, while many of the above positives are recognised in the officer's report before Council, unfortunately the Planning Department appears to have taken issue with the height of the proposal. We draw your attention to the independent urban design advice that Council commissioned as part of the process. This advice supports the project on balance, taking into account the overall benefits, including enhanced landscaping and low site coverage. We also say that on balance, the proposal before Council is appropriate and therefore that the proposal is deserving of Council's support. We request the councillors direct that a permit issue and allow the project to be realised. Thank you.
A written statement will now be read on behalf of Peter Greenham, read by Mark Gilio, Director of Corporate Services. But before that happens, do we have something?
Yeah, sorry, Mayor. Through you, I just remembered now that I use these services, so I'm going to declare a conflict of interest, and I'll be leaving the room.
We'll note the conflict.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor De Morelos. Sorry, do you have something else?
Quick through you, Mayor, I'd like to ask the question of the Speaker.
Yes.
Daniel, yep. Just one quick question. This is retirement living housing. When I look at the composition of the dwellings, of the 56, I think it was, 26 were earmarked as 3-bedroom. Could you speak to why retirement living requires that type of dwelling?
A mix of housing is provided because some residents will like to sleep in separate bedrooms, and they also have the opportunity to use the third bedroom for other activities. So it is still only for a couple at most. It's not for families, so to speak, yeah. It's the sleeping accommodation that is an option.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, Daniel, before you disappear, there's another question.
Mr. DeFazio, excuse me, wearing the mask, I tend to forget it's on. I'd like to ask you, how do you believe this proposed development responds to existing neighbourhood character of the area and the future desired character of the area?
Sure, good question. So it's an out-of-proportion site with many of the other sites in the area. The size of it is quite a strategic size. So it is a large site that will support a larger development. In order to be fitting with neighbourhood character, what's been proposed is a low footprint, slightly taller building to allow much more vegetation, much more landscape, much more open space than what would be typically be found in a retirement village or aged care facility. So the normal planning rules don't apply strictly to this sort of development. So what we do is we take controls and guidelines from other aspects of the planning scheme and try to use that as guidance for what is expected in this area. So the outcome was typically a much lower footprint building than a normal developer would seek to do, and therefore we've gone slightly taller, but we still have absolutely lush surroundings, large communal open spaces, generous front setback, retention of vegetation, including significant tree in the streetscape, and protection of neighbouring property. So it fits in with neighbourhood character because neighbourhood character in this spot talks about vegetation and landscaping. And so we've shrunk the building footprint to make sure we were surrounded by landscaping.
Okay. Another question, Mr. DeFazio. You mentioned that the proposed development is out of proportion size-wise.
The site is out of proportion size-wise, not the development. The site is about 6,000 square metres, which is much larger than other sites in the area.
Right, okay. And that the normal planning rules don't apply. Is that your opinion, or are they the statutory rules that you're referring to?
So the statutory rules, like site coverage that might be for a dwelling, doesn't apply. The garden area requirement that applies for a dwelling doesn't apply. Height rules that apply for a dwelling don't apply. These fall outside of those rules, And so that's where there's an assessment by the council officers as opposed to looking at certain tick box elements.
Through you, Mayor, could I ask the Director of City Development to respond to some of the comments Mr DeFazio has just made?
Through you, Mayor.
Yep.
I guess in respect of does the development have to comply with statutory rules in the zone, Mr DeFazio is right. Retirement living sits outside of those requirements. I don't necessarily see that as a positive outcome for this site and for this development, and that's why the officer recommendation is not to support the development in this circumstance and in this setting. That doesn't rule out a development in an appropriate setting that was higher than the prescribed height for a normal residential use being supported if it were appropriately designed. It is an interesting quirk of the Victorian planning system that retirement living sits in a separate category, neither constrained by the land zoning or any other form of particular provision like a residential aged care facility does that has mandatory maximum heights and other measures that are stipulated. So perhaps an area for future improvement in the system.
How do you think, Director, that should a planning permit be approved for such a development which does exceed the mandatory heights, even though they may not be a requirement of the planning scheme? How do you think this might be a precedent for other such developments?
Through you, Mayor. Planning, broadly speaking, doesn't set precedents. Each application is considered on its individual merits and on its individual sites. What I would say is that other than for purposes of retirement living or a specific residential aged care facility, we would be unable to approve a development of this height if it were for a traditional residential townhouse or apartment development. We simply would be prohibited from approving a building of this height.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As previously mentioned, the written statement will be read out by Director Gilio. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Mayor. I read this on behalf of Peter Greenham. I object to the application for the following reasons. The development proposed of 5-storey, technically 6 storeys at the centre due to rooftop access building, will be a major blight on the landscape of the area in comparison to the well-established residential properties immediately adjoining and surrounding the area. If approved, it will certainly set a new benchmark for future degrading of the area of the residential. A 3-storey development would be far more appropriate, acceptable and sympathetic considering the surrounding properties in the area are predominantly 2, maximum 3-storey as anticipated by the GRZ2 zoning. I do not agree with the traffic management reporting supporting the proposed development. It is based on theoretical studies and modelling and not a practical design for the location of the property on the major main road. The lack of consideration to pedestrian traffic will be generated by the proposed development of how people from the retirement village can safely access the benefits of the park immediately opposite to safely cross over with a split road design island. Imagining the potential accidents waiting to occur of people in motorised vehicles trying to cross a major road from the development to catch the buses to take them to the station, Ivanhoe Shopping Centre or into the city. There is no apparent provision in the design to harvest and capture the great volume of water from the development to be reused within the property. The proposal represents a new chapter for Ivanhoe East and a strengthening of this pocket as a desirable place to call home. I certainly do not agree with the statement, particularly with what is stated and acknowledged in 3.2 of the submission. The proposed development will not positively contribute to the desired existing and future neighbourhood character of the area. It will detract. Therefore, I strongly object and oppose the proposed development before Council.
There's an officer recommendation. I'm now calling for a motion. Councillor Castaldo.
I'd like to move as is.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded Councillor McKern. Councillor Castaldo, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. thank you to Daniel for coming tonight, putting forward your position. Also Peter that sent in his information this evening, and those that are here tonight to and have participated in applications or objections, and participated on informing our council of their views, of what the community's views are on this site. And I'd also really like to thank Hayley in our planning team for putting together a very good review of this application. I didn't think there was any amendments needed because she covered all of the key areas that I'd felt had been communicated to me as a ward councillor. There's size, mass, scale, neighbourhood character, vegetation, screening of the site, accessibility by vehicular access on Lower Heidelberg Road. It covered all of the important areas. And I think that this is an example of, as our Director of Planning said, a quirk in the planning scheme that this application is coming forward. Every site owner always looks to maximise everything they can put on the site. The only way to contain that is through the planning scheme, and I think that our officers have sent a very clear message on what is acceptable. I think it reflects what our community think in that part around this site, and I'm fully supportive of this, and no doubt that we will be discussing this in much greater detail at VCAT in coming months. And this area of Banyule has been under attack almost by major developments looking to capitalise on quirks or significant sites. And while I support special consideration for these large sites, we still need to be constrained to what Councillor McKern drew attention to, neighbourhood character, both existing and emerging. And I don't think this development is a demonstration of what our community want in the emerging character of this area. So I'm fully supportive of this recommendation to reject that, and I would encourage all my fellow councillors to support me on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor, does the seconder wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 54 objections, fellow councillors, to this retirement village application. This is hugely significant. The officers have assessed the application for a 5-storey retirement village as inappropriate in context of surrounding built form and its strategic context. So what does this mean? It's out of character with current built fabric and out of character with the future desired character for the area. It's in a general residential zone, well removed from an activity centre, and the proposed heights are at odds, and I repeat, at odds with the mandatory building controls. That, of course, impacts neighbourhood character. Council is currently reviewing its housing and neighbourhood character strategies, and I thank you to local residents who've come here tonight in support of a well-balanced and well-engaged review that does include our community. They're here tonight to say that they want action in this space and they want recognition for the importance of our neighbourhood character. So, what we're looking for is protection of this character, and this should speak very loudly to the review and how we approach community consultation. Our community fellow councillors values the character of Banyule's neighbourhoods, and our local residents, by being here this evening, are demonstrating their support for strong neighbourhood character controls. I too support the officer's recommendation and hope that you will too this evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 5.2, Hurstbridge Rail Landscape and Active Transport Feasibility Study. There are 2 speakers on this item. John Walkley from Friends of Eaglemont will address the council in person. Please come to the lectern. And you have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Very simple matter from the residents of Ivanhoe, East Ivanhoe and Eaglemont. We know this is a complex matter and it has been bubbling along between VicRoads and the council for some considerable time. What we would propose when you look at this matter is that this elected member body, representative of ratepayers, should write into this resolution the obligation of Banyule Council staff to fully consult with Banyule residents proximate to any proposed Hurstbridge Rail Corridor, active transport, horticulture or other amenities works about the location and nature of any proposed works. Secondly, we believe you should advocate the position or positions that may be agreed by the consulted Banyule residents to other agencies via the staff, but it should be what the residents want, and we should be able to look to our council officers as advocates of the community that has been consulted with, rather than it being a matter between technocrats behind the scenes working out how to balance state government desires and council officer interests, funds being available, etc. Please talk to the residents, ask the residents what they want and need, what they're concerned about, and make sure that gets taken on board rather than there being backroom discussions. We were amazed when the first stuff came public about the Northern Rail Corridor, Hurstbridge Rail Feasibility Corridor, however you want to title it. We were amazed at how complex and detailed the interactions between VicRoads staff and council staff had been, and we were blind to it. Finally, I'd ask you to direct the staff to seek to find solutions to any areas of disagreement between the agencies involved that give the least offence to residents. The agencies involved: Council, VicRoads, VicTrack, or Metro, whichever is the body at the table. What we've seen with this whole Hurstbridge Rail Corridor feasibility study is the total absence of VicTrack, who are the major landowner and controller, and in our experience have taken a very high-handed approach to the community and to council and other people. So please, if there is to be interagency discussions, have the staff represent ratepayers. Thank you. And just to highlight the point, I'm not asking for something new. I'm simply asking for the implementation of Council's own community engagement policy, which has not been followed in the interaction between staff and ratepayers, residents, in at least our Darebin, Ivanhoe, Eaglemont, Heidelberg part of the world in this matter. I cannot speak for people beyond, on the outbound beyond Heidelberg, haven't looked at it. Got enough complexity in our neck of the woods.
Thanks.
But please have this applied. Thank you.
A written statement will now be read on behalf of Jenny Ramage, read by Darren Bennett, Director of Assets and City Services.
Thank you, Mayor. Bicycle infrastructure is not only for the recreational cyclist and commuter. It must be designed to encourage the 60% of the community who are interested but apprehensive to ride a bike to avail themselves of these routes, making riding a bike a safer experience. Victorian Cycle Strategy 2018-28. Transport for Victoria. Currently in the Ivanhoe, Eaglemont and Heidelberg areas, there are hundreds of cars on the roads each morning and afternoon as parents drive children and teenagers to schools in our suburbs. The proposed safe riding routes will roughly follow the railway line between Rosanna and Ivanhoe, should be designed to allow school children safe access to Heidelberg Primary School, St John's Primary School, Our Ladies of Mercy, Ivanhoe Girls Grammar, Ivanhoe Grammar and Ivanhoe Primary School. Children and teenagers who benefit by being independent, active transport improves fitness and health and creates lifetime habits influencing long-term health outcomes. Reduced traffic congestion and pollution improves health for all the community, and the reduced reliance on the motor car improves sustainability for the planet. Underrepresented groups, women, children, older adults, would be encouraged by these low-stress local cycling routes. With improved bicycle parking facilities at supermarkets and shopping centres, the same network of cycling routes encourages a quick trip to the shops to be done by bike, taking more cars off the road and adding to the amenity of our suburbs. Such active transport contributes to the health and well-being of our entire community. 4 in 10 Victorians say they would be interested to ride to local destinations if routes were safer and low stress. I would like to see Council advocate for more safe cycling infrastructure.
Thank you, Director. I understand there's a motion. Councillor would like to move. Moved. Councillor McKern? Yep.
You can read that. You can move it rather than, sorry. So we've had a bit of a mix-up, Madam Mayor. It's actually Councillor Melican who has proposed some of these alternatives, so it's probably appropriate that he read them out, if we can still do that.
I will now call for a proposed motion. Councillor Melican, do you have some additions?
Thank you. I would like to add a new point 3. Note that there is an error in the consultation summary report, social map individual section, which reported on page 4 that there were no pin drops in the Darebin to Ivanhoe station section. It has been noted that there were 16 pin drops regarding investment, maintenance, planning and connection, and further the consultation summary paper has been updated and will be uploaded into Shaping Banyule. Also on item 4, note that the opportunity to work with state government to improve walking, cycling and landscaping outcomes, and request a meeting to discuss these opportunities and a review of the strategic cycling corridor. And new 5, that Council receive a future report to identify the process and resources to undertake an implementation plan that sets out the priority projects for referral to the future budgets. And there is an item. That's it. Thank you very much.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Castaldo. Councillor Melican, do you wish to speak?
I do. Thank you very much. As the speakers pointed out, these are very valuable pieces of land that I think have been underutilised. And this is a plan to address some of that. And there are many things. It's not only the active transport opportunities, but it's also the biodiversity and the planting of nature within these corridors, which has just been not ignored, but certainly hasn't been prioritised and hasn't been well planned. And given the congestion, the parking issues, and as the other speaker talked about, the opportunities we need to create, if it's safe for people to ride, they will ride. But also from an environment perspective, if the less cars on the road, but also the fact that if we can plant more vegetation in these corridors to improve the heat island effect, to add to the wildlife corridors, that would be a huge advantage. So there's lots of good public health outcomes we could achieve through this. And to say I've been disappointed with some of our state government departments and their creation of safe, active transport opportunities would be a complete understatement. As you all know, Vic Roads refused to meet with councillors in the whole last term, and now we're being told, well, they haven't met with us this term of council, which is nearly 2 years, and now we're being told they're not prepared to meet until after the state election. We need these organisations to work with us, not against us, and this motion, I think, is trying to encourage that to occur. So there's lots of good reasons why we've gone down this path, why we want to make better use of these pieces of land, but to achieve what we need to achieve as a council, but also for the state to achieve what they constantly tell us they're trying to do, they need to get all of government authorities working in the same direction. And we have a huge environment team within the state government, and yet we have VicTrack whose responsibilities in for the environment they don't seem to care about that much. We have Vic Roads who, in my opinion, have failed us miserably, and I've said that 100 times, but yet nothing seems to change. So there's lots of good opportunities here, and we need to work very hard with all state departments to make sure we can realise those opportunities, and I think this is a good first step.
Does the seconder wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I might need a bit of extra time, but I'd like to just go back to where this all came about. This came about as a result of committed people in our community advocating to myself and other councillors to increase the public amenity around the rail line. For many years, we haven't had a considered approach to manage that very large piece of land that runs right through Banyule. There were complaints around Darebin Station, Ivanhoe Station, Eaglemont Station, Heidelberg Station, and they're just a number of complaints that I'd received. But this is also informed by two other areas. When we underwent our Rosanna to Heidelberg rail duplication, there was some work done there that has made it incredibly difficult now to roll out a bike path between two important activity centres in Banyule that now is almost impossible to achieve and will be very costly exercise. We never had the strategic plans to help and achieve a far better bicycle path between important activity centres. Now we will with this plan. We'll have something to advocate for and also get state or federal funding to help assist us in some of these important plans. Along this journey, some community groups have also built up. John Walkley, who is a representative and leader of one of those, doing wonderful work in one section between Eaglemont or around Eaglemont Station, and it's expanding their important work along that rail corridor. I want to note that because it's sensational, the improvement to the amenity in that area, and I'm sure the biodiversity has improved significantly as well. I'd also like to say that it's so important that this has come through to us now as well, because we're about to adopt our urban forest strategy. Actions will be in there. This will help us direct funds and support increased biodiversity opportunities and plantings along this rail corridor. But as Tom Malikan also alerts us to, there are competing groups that are trying to achieve their objectives. Transport groups, Jenny Ramage, I think, spoke around bike paths. It's absolutely essential that we do that, but it's essential that we include consideration for biodiversity and tree planting, and those will come into conflict along this journey. And I will be committed, as we were with the last bicycle infrastructure, to engage with our community and hear those voices. So don't you worry about us as a group of councillors. I'm fully supportive of consultation, hear those views, those diverse views, and those will be considered along this journey as we roll this program out. So I'd just like to thank all those that participated to the plan that we've achieved at now.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor McKern.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 374 contributors have informed this feasibility study. That's a lot of our community. So it has attracted significant interest and engagement from the community. And I think whether you agree, disagree with whether the priority should be on re-veg, biodiversity or active transport, the point is that this study addresses both, and that ultimately that's what we'll be looking at, opportunities for both, because they are strategically important in Council's council plan. Now, I think what's important is, if we are going to endorse this feasibility study tonight, that it doesn't actually sit on a shelf for a long time and gather dust. That in fact we start doing something with it, which is why we have 0.5 as the alternative. Future report sounds a bit vague, and I would certainly like to be hearing from the community in terms of pushing this along. It's one thing to do these studies and invest in them, it's another thing to see real action on the ground. just remind everyone here that the Friends of Eaglemont Village didn't need a feasibility study to carry out revegetation works around Eaglemont Station, which is now the pride and joy for many in our community. Others in our community have also approached me on the back of the work done by Friends of Eaglemont to landscape Darebin, to landscape Ivanhoe. When the community approaches us, fellow councillors, it's important that we listen and we help them actually get in and get the job done, because they will lose interest otherwise. And if we're going to wait for plans and the like, we might lose opportunities and we might lose community leaders that are well initiated and have the energy at the time to get work done and bring other volunteers into these projects. Re-veg projects are not difficult, and I'm sure Mr. Walkley could talk to this at length, and I'm sure he will should the opportunity be available. So what I'd like to see, fellow councillors, is point 5 enacted sooner than later. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. We've been sitting for a while, so I'll just take a 5-minute break and we'll start at 9:20. Thank you. We're resuming the meeting. 5.3, tree removal associated with Redmond Court Wetlands Reserve upgrade. There is no one speaking to this item. There's an officer recommendation. I'm now calling for a motion.
So moved, Mayor.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor De Morelos. Councillor Garotti. Councillor De Morelos. Does any other councillor wish to speak? I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried.
Let's keep going.
Sorry. Inclusive Employment Program, end of program update. There is no one speaking and there's a proposed motion. Can I have a councillor move, please?
Yeah, I'm happy to move.
Moved, Councillor Garotti. Seconded, Councillor Malikan. Do you wish to speak? Do you wish to speak?
I'd just like to comment, I think, and we've seen the evidence of this so many times, this has been a fantastic program. I think this council should be commended for what we've done. Other councils are trying to copy it, but and the thing that always impresses me, it's not just what the difference we've made to some people's lives, it's the difference those people have made to our council and how people are happy to come to work for a council that they know is doing to try to help people get along in life. And as we always say, if we all succeed, we're all better off, and that's what this is all about. So, no, I'm very happy to support this tonight.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Yes, it is a wonderful program, and being part of also the induction night, a few councillors were there. It was really good to see the participants asking lots and lots of questions in an environment that they felt comfortable in, and that was a real learning for me to see, that the officers have accommodated people with different backgrounds, so it was wonderful. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 7.2, support for Banyule Retail Centres review. There are 4 speakers to this item. Noella Jacobs from Greensborough Chamber of Commerce will address council in person. Thank you, Noella. We'll just turn on your microphone.
Turn myself on so you can actually hear me. Oh, well, here I go again. I speak on behalf of Bill Spiliopoulos, who is the president of the Greensborough Chamber of Commerce and also our committee. Bill's hurt his back, that's why I'm here and not him. Further information on our objection was communicated to the councillors today. Some significant points I would like to highlight. The Chamber is concerned about the lack of consultation in this entire process of the proposed changes. The Chamber was not consulted at all. Yes, there have been some discussions between council officers and myself and committee representative, but that was for the council representatives to present reforms and not for the purpose of meaningful consultation. The Chamber is very proud of our record of transparency and of governance. Over the years, the Chamber has been commended as an example for other centres. For the renewal of the Chamber has been very proactive in creating our next 5-year business plan because of LXRA and all the other places that we want to lobby for. We reached out to Council with a comprehensive plan outlining how Council and the Chamber could work together for the future of Greensborough. This plan was rejected by EcoDev and a subsequently reduced plan was compiled to fit the standard template, which we never received. At no time during discussions of the planning for the levy was the Chamber consulted or informed about any planned changes to the administration of the scheme. Having only 3 working days before the Council's meeting tonight to consider what has been presented to our Chamber is unreasonable. It appears to have been presented to us as a fait accompli. We need at least 30 business days to consider and consult the economic development team and get advice and material provided to us on the 31st of August. We'd like to obtain further information, including premium retail marketing and urban enterprises advice, benchmarking data as quoted, all information referred to in our advice, as the information provided to us to date is incomplete and without proper explanation. The insertion of a council representative with voting rights has many constitutional and practical issues as outlined in the full document. The current administration of special rate and levy is working without criticism. To our knowledge, there's been no complaints from traders and we've had zero objection for our renewal with 400 businesses. Thank you.
Jeremy Richards is from Watsonia Traders Association and will address council in person. Thank you, Jeremy. You have 2 minutes to speak.
Hello. My name is Jeremy Richards. I'm Vice President of the Watsonia Traders Association. We acknowledge the ongoing support of Banyule Council with its special rate schemes through the various shopping centres. Watsonia Traders Association supports any innovation that could possibly improve the performance and viability of retail centres in Banyule. Stronger, more functional traders associations are key for member traders to improve, maybe just even survive these modern times. We support greater council involvement and monitoring of the traders associations as long as this leads to demonstrable improvements in processes and outcomes. As long as this doesn't lead to bogging down the ability of the traders association to operate due to inefficiencies. The advantage of each small business is that it can be nimble and adapt to changing conditions. This has to also be true of traders associations. We are disappointed that one key point of the report doesn't seem to be addressed in the recommendations, and we'd welcome discussion and amendments as soon as possible. We think there is a great inequity between the different shopping centres in terms of council funding. We think it unfair that this inequity has been identified in the review, but any decision to rectify this has been dismissed for the length of this project. Surely the start of new funding agreements would have been a great time to introduce changes that rectified this inequitable funding. Thank you.
John Walkley from Friends of Eaglemont Village will address council in person.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. In relation to the traders matter that's before you, we believe the council should quantify and report the direct and indirect costs of the program of funding 11 select traders associations from within the broader retailing sector in Banyule. We believe council should specify how the Banyule community benefits from this quantified cost, estimated to be in excess of $1 million per annum, to the council budget. Council should consider the value for money equation of providing any public money at all to private sector retailers. Council should consider whether the funds provided for obscure reasons to private sector retailers might better be applied to morally justifiable community benefit. For example, Orange Door, food banks, fostering inclusion, countering homelessness. Council should consider how, if it chooses to persist with subsidising private sector retailers, the community might benefit from the funds being linked to inclusive employment practices, to traineeships, to apprenticeships, to work experience programs as key performance indicators. Council should reflect on the offence to democracy and equity of using public funds to equip private sector retailing precincts to contest the oft-times competing interests, for example, noise, parking, planning, nuisance, of the unfunded communities surrounding them, who are providing the public funds to private sector retailers. We believe council should reduce the pilot era for these changes that are being proposed for introducing and assessing the reforms to the end of the 2022-23 financial year. Thank you.
A written statement will now be read on behalf of Yvette Stanfield from X2 Marketing, read by Natasha Swan, Director of City Development.
Thank you, Mayor. Yvette Stanfield is a centre manager at both McLeod and Montmorency and has also been a centre manager for 3 years in partnership with Anna Henderson. Our business is X2 Marketing. X2 Marketing also manages Fairfield, Moonee Ponds, Eltham and Diamond Creek and Flemington shopping precincts. Anna and I work collaboratively with 4 councils. Both Anna and I agree with the changes proposed because we believe in transparency and accountability and have always operated in such a manner that these changes would not impact on the way we go about our work. We have spoken to both of our committees in McLeod and Montmorency, and both committees are comfortable with the reforms. Anna and I believe that the changes should be rolled out across the 11 centres to ensure consistency in the way the funds are managed and committees operate. As centre managers, we can see the benefit in having a council officer on the committee to answer any council-specific questions and also guide the committee on governance-related matters, particularly when these can be challenging to manage as a centre manager. We understand that councils have to be more accountable regarding how they go about spending ratepayer money. We have discussed these reforms with the other 3 councils we collaborate with and believe that they should consider following suit. As this has been proposed as a 2.5-year pilot, both Anna and I believe it is worth trialling to see the outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you to the Director. There's a proposed motion.
Mayor, if I may move an alternate recommendation.
Take us through, please.
I have the wording up there on the screen. Move that council defer the item to a future ordinary council meeting. So moved, Mayor. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second to support discussion on that deferral.
Di Pasquale.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the reason for my move to defer this item, I don't think there'll be much of an impost in giving this a little bit more time and possibly allowing each individual traders association to go through their good governance, to bring it to the committee, discuss it, have any questions answered by officers, etc. Moving it through, as I've heard tonight, too quickly can cause problems. And I also, in that process, I also am seeing that there have been speakers who have been for the schemes or the continuation of schemes, which is understandable. I mean, it's a fantastic scheme that has been around in the Banyule area for many, many years. I think one of the few councils who do actually have a special rate scheme for its shopping centres and shopping strips. But it does need a bit more work in that, one size doesn't necessarily fit all. And especially in the northern area of the municipality, Mayor, being Greensborough, Watsonia, they're somewhat larger and have different pressures. Northeast Link, the pressures of Northeast Link, particularly with Watsonia, Greensborough with regards to its sheer size, the amount of time it's been in operation. And I believe the smaller centres would be welcoming and applauding this as soon as possible, because there'll be resources that they can use which council can provide and make it easier for them. And I think that could be problematic for, particularly centres as I've spoken about, Greensborough in particular, and possibly Watsonia. There are a couple of questions raised tonight. So for that reason, I would suggest we defer, get more questions answered, and then if we're happy to go further ahead, shouldn't be much of an impost, I'm thinking.
Does a seconder wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I was happy to second to enable Councillor Di Pasquale just to put that view forward, but I don't support the deferral and we'll vote against it. And if the council votes that way, then we'll return back to the substantive motion. Thank you, Mayor.
Does any other councillor wish to speak? Put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is lost. So we'll move to the motion, the proposed motion. Do I have a mover?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Happy to move with a couple of amendments. I can bring them up here. So just an amendment to point 1J, that Council endorse additional resources to EFT for a 2.5-year period to achieve and monitor each of the short-term recommendations. The EFT resourcing is to be funded within the existing operating budget without any additional operating funding. And appoint a K new that the trader associations invite their ward councillor to attend and provide a brief address at their AGMs, their annual general meetings. So moved, Mayor.
Do I have a seconder with the additions? Seconded, Councillor Melican. Councillor Grotti, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I will speak. So just with regard to the amendments first, I think it's really important for us to be highlighting as a council our expectation that this does not include $1 extra of ratepayer money, that the Chief Executive has indicated that savings will be found within the operating budget to do this. EFTs add up over time. 2 EFT could be $300,000 a year and that's recurrent cost to this council. So in moving this amendment, we're setting a clear expectation that there'll be offsetting savings within the operating budget. That's how we run this council, sustainably and financially sustainably into the future. Point K is just recognising that it's respectful, courteous, but it's also just part of good relationship building between council and traders to be invited along and to be part of that process. So I think that's reasonable. I think one of our speakers tonight summed it up quite well. John Walkley, just recognising this is public money that we're dealing with. This is ratepayer money that council kicks in. It's never been looked at before properly, but rigorous governance around how this money is used and expended, and to make sure that it is used appropriately and the best value for money for council and the community is imperative. And the proposed approach will facilitate and achieve that process. And I also think that the Speaker raised some really good suggestions too around where council may want to go with this in the future. We do kick in directly up to $1 million, possibly more. I'm not clear on those figures, but we should be expecting some outcomes for the community: traineeships, apprenticeships, inclusive jobs. So I've pricked up to those comments. I'm looking forward, hopefully, to this being supported by colleagues and moving forward, and then having some conversations with our Chief Executive and officers about saying, well, look, let's tap into this. We just adopted our report tonight on the 2022-23 Inclusive Jobs program. How can we expand that with the traders? We know that they're dealing with labour shortages and issues attracting labour. We can support that, but they can come to the party. And so we can leverage what we're putting into these traders associations to get broader benefits for the community. So again, thank you to our speakers. Thank you for the terrific work of Jeremy and the Watsonia Traders Association that I have the privilege of working with, along with Councillor Di Pasquale, and really hoping that this amended resolution has support tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Does the seconder wish to speak?
Just a few comments here. The Trades Association certainly has worked very well in the past, but I think it's right that we do review it. As the document says, it hasn't been reviewed since its inception. The viability of local shopping centres is vital. I think that they build community, they provide local employment, they provide a place for our residents to come together and meet. And I think it's well worth us contributing to that. The traders themselves put in more money than council does. So I understand the concept, and some of the points that were raised were quite valid, and Councillor Grotti commented on those as well. And I certainly pricked my ears up as well, that maybe we should be expecting more for inclusive employment opportunities and those sorts of initiatives that we talked about before in our inclusive program. So, yeah, fully support that, but I'm keen to move this on to make sure that we do get the best value for the money we do spend. But I also have to say that some of the trading associations have worked extremely well and, have valued every dollar that council has contributed and made the most of every dollar that council has contributed. Some of the other trade associations I don't think have done that as well. So this is to try to lift the performance of some of the trade associations that I don't think have worked effectively and haven't worked as well as a group together. So I think this is part of the reason we're having this review, because there was a very uneven performance across the whole traders group. So hopefully this will address some of that and bring up some of the worst performing trade associations to the level that some have met, and we're obviously upset that we are making changes, but this is all about making it fairer, making it more equitable, but also to try and lift the performance of some of the other traders associations.
Councillor Castaldo.
Yeah, there was a few things that drew my attention as we underwent this review program. We've considered opportunities to participate and how we should participate across all the trader associations for some time. It was interesting to look, 30 years we've run this program without a single major review. That, for me, is problematic. Every single program we do is on a 4-year plan. Us councillors are here on a 4-year cycle. But we've had a program for 30 years without significant major review. So I'm fully supportive of this. It's a 2.5-year pilot. I think it's important that we do it. We've been drawn to some good ideas in the community tonight. They've come through and I think having our officers embedded in these committees is important because it is government, state, council money. We need to be participants in that process and look at new ways to get participation into those and provide guidance and advice in. I wouldn't comment on how well any one of these organisations are. I know there's a lot of people that value them tremendously and they have done a tremendous amount, but we need to have that oversight. So I think it's a really important program that was needed for many years probably now, to just have a deeper review, have a better oversight and participation from council, and lead to a better sharing of information across all of the trader associations. And because I've had a number of residents contact me, they wanted to be involved. We had one here tonight who's wanted to be involved in the local trader association. Now there's another avenue to speak to, perhaps through council. But we need to be mindful of how everyone participates. So this is a 2.5-year program, so very supportive of this.
Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor De Pasquale.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think I have spoken on this item. I spoke... No, not on this item now. With regards to not being reviewed, no, the schemes get reviewed every 4 years, and we decide, or the council decides, whether they're going to continue them on or not. With regards to being accountable, there's a democratic process with regards to president is voted in, treasurer, secretary, all the committee members are voted in by the traders who choose to be part of the traders association. They then decide as a group to hire, if they do want to, a manager who then works for that organisation or that group. So it's pretty diplomatic. If they wanted to not do that, they can choose not to do that. So I think that's the most diplomatic process that there is. Now, my point is that this is just too rushed. I think that we've been hearing from some of the traders that it's too rushed, governance-wise, with the committees, etc. And I just think we need to listen to that. To continue pushing this through, I would just have to say, if that's going to be the way that this council votes tonight, it's going to be up to the traders associations, all 11 of them. Whenever there are problems, in the past, maybe you've gone to the offices and tried to fix those problems and tried to get things happening with them. I implore you, you need to come to your councillor. You need to contact councillors. You need to send emails. You need to call. You need to make sure that any action that you need to be taken goes to a councillor, because if we don't hear that there are problems, we're going to not think that that anything needs to be changed. So I implore the traders associations to get in contact with your local council and make sure you keep them abreast of how things are going. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor De Morelos.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to quickly say on this that I think I agree with most of the councillors in this regard. It definitely is something that has come up because of the Local Government Act. I believe there's a lot of fraud concerns and making sure that council money is being used appropriately. But at the same time, I agree with Councillor De Pasquale that it is delicate. It is going into a commercial area, but in my experience, council can move quite slow. So I'm actually looking forward to the fact that we're moving fast on something. It may not be perfect, but at the same time, it's bringing up a lot of questions. It's bringing up what is the best case scenario, and it is a 2.5-year trial for feedback on a way to get something better. So I'm excited that we're moving fast. Not super fast. There has been consultation. But I'm looking forward to what this does bring out. And in my view, especially from a traders association, speaking with the few that are in my ward, this is probably going to give more of an opportunity to be a better collaboration and get things moving along even quicker with council. Because I definitely know in the mall there's been some situations where council has moved a bit slow. Now with an officer on board and this teamwork approach, I feel that we'll get some things happening better for traders. So I'm looking forward to this going forward. But also I do appreciate that it is a delicate situation and needs to be definitely informed well through the next 2.5 years. So I once again, I do agree with you, Mark, that any issues that do come up, your local councillor needs to be informed. Because, in 2.5 years, this will be coming back to council. Thank you.
Does any other councillor wish to speak? Me first. Okay, so I've just been listening to everybody and reflecting and wanted to make a few points that all councils across Victoria or even the country are required to be more transparent and more accountable. There is more scrutiny in 2022 than there has ever been before for councils. And this review is it's not a bad thing, it's about improvement. And that improvements are expected by the community. There's a lot of expectations on council from different groups of the community, and I feel it's my responsibility to highlight that. This review will continue to support our retail centres and provide that transparency and accountability that the community are after. And it's a difficult thing to get the right balance, but that's what we're trying to achieve, the right balance for a thriving economy and we want to attract business to our area. So we want to do that in the right way. So that's my understanding of reading this review. Sum up, Councillor Grotti.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank the author and the team, Daniela Amiasosas. I think Daniela has come from a trader's background, having run a business herself and worked in trading situations. They've done a tremendous amount of work, and probably just an acknowledgement from us of that work and the value add, I think, and probably commending that back to the senior officers of when we recruit people who have come from the industry and have that industry expertise. I think we get very good quality work that contributes to this council. So, Daniela, if you've listened in, thank you on behalf of council for your work.
I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Item 8.1, council meeting dates. There are no speakers on this item. There's an officer recommendation. Can I please have a councillor move? Move, Councillor Malikan. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Champion. Does any councillor wish to speak? I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? All councillors must vote. The motion is carried. Item 8.2, governance rules, draft governance rules. There are no speakers. There's an officer recommendation. Can I please have a councillor move? Councillor Grotti, seconded, Councillor McKern. Do you wish to speak?
Just to acknowledge, Mayor, that there are no speakers from the community. I think we're doing something right. And wanted to call that out. And again, as we did with the previous item, just acknowledging good work from our governance team and our new coordinator in the role, Kristen. Good work. It's very detailed review, picked up on some previous areas where it just needed to be tightened from a legal and regulatory perspective, consulted well, engaged well. Got back to a councillor group actually at 9:30 p.m. one night in regard to some questions. So very dedicated. Thank you for this and thank you for your work.
Thank you, councillor. Does the seconder wish to speak?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Good governance is a very important part of how councils operate, and good governance is something that this council prides very highly. With this report, I believe what we're being asked, Madam Mayor, is as a council group, essentially to alter our governance rules to include a process for conducting council meetings electronically. So while council already has this ability under its governance rules, this draft report sets out the rules that we're looking to endorse for community consultation. So these draft governance rules will, should we endorse them tonight for community consultation, give our community the opportunity to provide their feedback. Now, we were going to put up, Madam Mayor, an alternative recommendation, which I see isn't up on the board, and I would like to question through you to governance why it's not there, and perhaps it could, whether it could be put up. And it was around the right of reply. I noticed that what's being proposed in the draft report is a 1 minute right of reply. I did actually suggest that we consider 3 minutes for a right of reply, because 1 minute is essentially drawing breath. So I think it's unfair on councillors, particularly of complex subject matter, to only provide 1 minute of a right of reply, even for community consultation. So through you, Mayor, I'd like to know whether we can still put up that alternative recommendation, which I did suggest earlier this evening.
With respect to the councillor, I would ask that it be, personally I'm comfortable with the recommendation as is, and noting that it's a draft going out for consultation and that feedback could be picked up as part of the process. I would ask the councillor if that's the intention, then it would have to be moved as an amendment to the substantive recommendation.
This motion's been put forward. This motion needs to be voted on.
We need to vote on this motion, councillors. So we'll continue as per procedure. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Governance rules, draft governance rules. Does any other councillor wish to speak?
Is Councillor McKern moving that amendment or not?
No, we've started this motion and we're continuing, and then we'll have to proceed.
Move the motion.
Okay. No other councillor wishes to speak. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. I was going to take a pause, but I'm going to keep going. Okay. Item 8.3, Audit and Risk Committee, Biannual Report and Charter Review. There are no speakers. There's an officer recommendation. Can I please have a councillor move? Moved, Councillor Melican. Seconded, Councillor De Morelos. Do you wish to speak? Does the seconder wish to speak? Does any other councillor wish to speak? I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.4, awarding of contract, provision of internal audit services. There's a proposed motion that a councillor would like to move. I'm now calling for a motion.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just like to move a few amendments. So point number 2, that Council authorise the Director of Corporate Services to sign the contract and any other associated documents following a meeting with Pitcher Partners representatives, the Mayor and the Chief Executive. Point 3, that Council review the contractor's performance and Council business needs at the conclusion of the initial 3-year contract term and receive a recommendation report endorsed by the Audit and Risk Committee on whether to award the contract extension. And new point 4, note that when the review of the instrument of delegation from Council to the Chief Executive Officer, Section 5, is next undertaken, that a condition and limitation set to ensure a Council decision of the awarding of the internal audit contract is to come to Council and not be made under delegation by the CEO or alternative delegate on the basis of a recommendation from the Audit and Risk Committee. And point number 5, advise the Audit and Risk Committee of this resolution. Thank you, Mayor.
Do I have a seconder to these additions? Seconded, Councillor Melican. Councillor Grotti, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So, really good outcome for this council to have gone out to tender and secured the services of a firm of the quality and capability and capacity of Pitcher Partners. So, congratulations to Mark, Gilio, the director, and the team for securing that outcome. I'm confident that they're going to deliver a very good service for this council. But I think it's important to note that when council increased the delegation to the CEO of 1 million, we did so without condition. The internal audit contract is a very important contract for the council because the internal auditor is there to service the CEO, directors, but also the council and by extension the community. Internal audit does very important reviews and is relied upon very strongly by the CEO and by councillors, and there's been some very sensitive matters, in fact, over the last year where the internal auditor has had a very important role to play. So I think it's critical then that in the future, the Audit and Risk Committee should really be signing off on the internal audit, and I'm surprised that it didn't come to them, and that's why I want them to be advised of this resolution. I think that they actually should have insisted that they were involved in that process, but that's their prerogative as a committee. But in the future, really, as a committee, they should be reviewing and approving and providing advice to the council, and then the council should be appointing the internal auditor. It is a very strategic, critical service function of this council. And then just regarding the meeting with the Mayor and the CEO, I just believe that it's really important from the outset of this contract to set the expectation there with the provider that they're there to service the CEO, to service council and to service the community, to have that meet and greet, to have that conversation, and then obviously to go ahead and sign the contract. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Does the seconder wish to speak?
Just briefly, I agree with that. If you read the report, it may come up maybe not the cheapest initially, but it's certainly best value for money and after the interview, so that's a good thing. But it is best practice to change your internal auditor on a regular basis because people become comfortable, relationships are formed, and sometimes that doesn't lead to the best outcome. So happy to support this recommendation tonight and agree with the amendments put forward by Councillor Grotti.
Does any other councillor wish to speak? I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.5, Procurement Australia. There are no speakers. There's an officer recommendation. I'm now calling for a motion. Moved, Councillor Grotti. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Melican. Do you wish to speak? Does any other councillor wish to speak? I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.6, Record of Councillor Meetings. There are no speakers. There's an officer recommendation. Do I have a mover? Moved, Councillor Champion. Seconded, Councillor Melican. Does any councillor wish to speak? I put the motion... Is that to speak? Put the motion to a vote. You're ahead of me, councillor. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Okay. Moving on to items of general business, we have a few items. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Champion.
Thanks very much, Mayor. Mine's very brief. At the end of last month, Banyule and Jaga congratulated around 170 Banyule residents taking their oath as Australian citizens. We now have many new Australians across a variety of industries, social groups and ages, originating from around 20 countries from around the world. The ceremony is held in Banyule 4 times during the year and is one of our favourite events. While we love to welcome people from many different cultures, the ceremony also reminds us how very blessed we are to be born and raised here. The next citizenship ceremony is in November. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McKern, I believe you have a number of items.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I have 3 items. Firstly, I'd like to announce that recently I had the benefit of attending a visit of revegetation sites along the Darebin Creek with members of the Darebin Creek Management Committee. This was an important visit, particularly in relation to the Banyule Northern Grasslands. I don't know how many fellow councillors know of this particular re-veg site or have visited it. Well worthwhile. Banyule's Bushland Management Unit have been working on this 6 hectares of degraded land and essentially returned it to its former glory of what's classified as plains grassy woodland. So by former glory, I mean pre-European settlement vegetation. So why is this important? Why is it a big deal? Well, that's because less than 5% of the original landscape now exists and is classified endangered under the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Act. It used to be that plains grassy woodland ran from here right to the South Australian border. We only have 5% left. So the work that the Bushland Management Unit, together with volunteers such as Friends of the Darebin Creek, are doing an outstanding job, and it was a real treat to have a look at some of the work being done by Banyule's own team. So I'd like to shout out to the Banyule Bushland Management Unit, and hopefully the Director, through you, Mayor, can pass on those compliments to our Bushland Management Unit for their outstanding work. Shall I proceed to the second item, Madam Mayor? Thank you. Season opening of the Ivanhoe Bowls Club was on Saturday. Lawn bowl season has started, and I was very grateful to be invited to the Ivanhoe Lawn Bowls Club season opening on Saturday. It was an opportunity to speak to the recent adoption by Council of the Ivanhoe Sports Precinct Plan and explain some of the plan's objectives, particularly in relation to the Ivanhoe Bowling Club, what it means for them. There was a terrific turnout of about 100 members, which is terrific. The oldest member, I believe, who is playing and refuses to be a member unless she can play, is 98. President John Meehan did a terrific job emceeing the first roll of the bowls between club members. So I wish the IBC all the best for a successful, competitive and enjoyable pennant season. And Madam Mayor, for my last item, I'd just like to put a reminder out to our fellow councillors and those who might be tuning in, our residents tuning in, that there will be a Chelsworth Ward meeting on Tuesday the 13th of September at Ivanhoe Library from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. If local residents have a council-related agenda item that they wish to have addressed, please email it to me by this Thursday, the 8th of September. And I'd also like fellow councillors to know that you are all invited. Tea and coffee is my shout. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McKern. Public questions, we've received 3 and they will be included in the minutes of the meeting. And it will be available on our website at the end of the week. In accordance with Section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020, the meeting will now be closed to members of the public for the consideration of one confidential matter. Can I please have a councillor move and second to close the meeting to the public to consider the confidential matter? Moved, Councillor Champion. Do I have a second? Seconded, Councillor Malikan. Put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. The next ordinary council meeting will be held on Monday, the 26th of September, 2022. I now adjourn the meeting at 10:05 p.m. And thank you to the gallery this evening, and thank you for those watching. See you next meeting.